I go a lot to the story of Daniel in the Bible because Daniel is in obviously a very negative world, Babylon. Daniel's was so courageous that he ends up in a lion's den because of how badly he ticks off the powers that be in Babylon. And yet, Rick, he's so loved by the king of Babylon that the king stays up all night beside the lion's den, hoping against hope that he'll make it through. And my question is, how do you become like that in our society?
Hey, look out. It's Faith Talk Today. I am Rick Probst, always a great guest. This gentleman, pastor, author, apologist, podcaster, show host, husband, and father. And there's more, but I don't really have that much time to introduce him. And, I really don't need all that to introduce him. He's just such a great guy, great leader. And I just was reminded a couple of things that he's actually Dr. J.D. Greear. Pastor, how are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah, they always say the longer the bio, the less important the person, right? Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States. That's all you say.
Okay, now you bring up a point. I was reminded, and I knew this, but I always go back in the bio, and you were the 63rd president of the SBC. Now, do you have a hat that says 63 on it like Trump has 47?
Yeah, no. Or make a Southern Baptist great again. None of that. Didn't get any of the perks.
Did you really pray about that when you did that? That seems like a lot of work to me. When I was talking to Ezra before we started, and I said, God bless him. That's got to be a mammoth thing.
It was 30 of the longest 3 years of my life, Rick. I would say it that way.
If you're part of the SBC, that was not J.D. Greear. That was Ed Young, actually. I'm sorry. I'll just throw arbitrary names out there.
That's right. I'll just say it publicly. I enjoy it. I was disappointed to see it come to an end. It was so rewarding, but yeah.
Well, you think about it too, and I don't want to spend a lot of time here, but the former presidents over the years, Charles Stanley. The list goes on, and I thought, wow, and definitely an honor, right? No doubt. But I just think as the president, it's a lot of weight to carry. But you've been carrying weight a long time, and you do some just amazing things. We're talking about your latest book. It's called Everyday Revolutionary, and I looked up revolutionary. I know what a revolutionary is, but I just want to give you a definition here. What AI says it is: involving or causing a complete or dramatic change. That's what we want, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I think most Christians, they kind of have that stirring down deep that they want that, but there's just a gap between like, I want that, but I don't know exactly how to do that. And so I hope I can step into that gap a little bit and give us some guidance.
Why did you write this? Is this something that's been in your heart for a while, in your head? Did you read an article or did you read a scripture, popped out and said, you know what? This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I hope this doesn't sound too grandiose, Rick, but there are certain books that you write because you feel like you got a message put in your heart and something you want to say. There are other books that you feel like God wrote into you. And I've had a couple, not many of those. I've written several books, but one of them was gospel. One of them was a book called Gaining by Losing. This is one that I would put in that top 2 or 3 of just things that I feel like God has spent a lifetime writing this into my heart and life of just what is it? What is the difference? What has God really called us to in this age we live in? A lot of sociologists say that, as far as Christianity goes, we're now in what they call a negative world. Mm-hmm. The positive world was when Christianity was seen as a social asset. A neutral world is when it's kind of like one option among many. A negative world is when it's a liability. We're not just one religious option among many. We're part of the problem. And when you're in a hostile culture like that, like what does faithfulness look like? Is it just, taking the social media airwaves and putting signs up in your yard and culture war? Or is it something beyond that? That yes, you want to be truthful about what you say and you want to speak God's word into every situation, but is there something more than that God has called us to? And that's what I try to chase in this book. I go a lot to the story of Daniel in the Bible, because Daniel is in obviously a very negative world, Babylon. Daniel's was so courageous that he ends up in a lion's den because of how badly he ticks off the powers that be in Babylon. And yet, Rick, he's so loved by the king of Babylon that the king stays up all night beside the lion's den, hoping against hope that he'll make it through. And my question is, how do you become like that in our society? How do you be somebody that is filled with grace and truth? Because I feel like right now the cultural thing is we need to be bold about speaking truth, and I agree. But Jesus was filled with grace and truth.
Yes.
Truth without grace, I mean, grace without truth is liberalism. Truth without grace is Christless conservatism.
Yeah.
And both of them will take you away from who Jesus was, because he was full of both of them.
Hey there, if you're enjoying Faith Talk Today, make sure that you click the subscribe button to our YouTube channel and give this video a thumbs up. How's that? Yeah, and help us reach more people, will you? And catch the full audio podcast wherever you listen. Just search Faith Talk Today. New episodes get dropped every Monday morning. So thanks for listening. Now back to the conversation.
Pastor J.D. Greear with us. If you're watching, you'll notice right under J.D. it says, oh, now he moved it, but it says founder of Awesome. And that wasn't his idea. We made him do that. And I want to say that J.D. is always kind and humble and a great guest, and he always brings it. You're going to love this book, Everyday Revolutionary. I think it's in the heart of all of us, Pastor, that we really want change, and we need something like this to move us. And you have some practical stuff in there, but we really want to move forward. I don't want to put a sign up in the yard, and I don't talk about politics or my Christianity usually on my Facebook, because I have a lot of unsaved friends, and it's not that I don't want to tick them off, but I don't want to push them away either, and I love them in a different way. But I read this in the write-up. This is a Christian guide to living quietly, but testifying loudly. And I love that. I love that. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, well, yeah. So, live quietly is actually Paul's phrase, and it's his answer to what Christians do in the kind of world we live in. Now, live quietly might sound odd coming from a guy who stood in an amphitheater, full of angry Ephesians, and said, "You're the godless ones, not me." Peter doesn't use the phrase quietly, but he says remarkably, and he's talking about the same thing: live remarkably. And people think, well, does that mean live like invisibly? No, what they're actually talking about is living in a way that blesses your community, and to use Peter's words, provokes a reason that people would ask for the hope that is within you. And what I do in the book is I identify 5 things that every Christian can do every day. It's like I would call that the Apostle Paul's job description for the revolutionary Christian. And you can do these whether you go to a public elementary school and teach 3rd graders, or whether you sit on the corporate board of a multinational conglomerate. These are 5 things that are what it means to be an everyday revolutionary. And it means you live in a way that is creation fulfilling, meaning you're fulfilling the creation mandate and making the world a better place to live. It is excellence pursuing, because you're doing it as a way of bringing honor to God and just in the quality of what you do. It is holiness reflecting, which means that it's demonstrating the character and the holiness of God in it. It's redemption displaying. You're looking for ways that you can show the grace of Jesus Christ through it. And then the final one is it's mission advancing, and that is you're looking for places that you can advance the gospel in appropriate ways. And the quiet life actually sets up the loud testimony. And the loud testimony is what you have through those things. But it doesn't begin. I'm not saying there's never a time to put a sign up in your yard. Sure. And I'm not even trying to come on here and say you never, express your political opinions by any means. I'm saying that what the foundation of your approach is you are a witness for Christ in a way that blesses your neighbors and creates moments for loud testimony to the grace of Jesus.
This is Pastor J.D. Greear, and you, of course, hear him at Summit Life on Faith Talk Atlanta, and he also has a television show, and he does a podcast as well. He's one busy guy, and he's an author and an apologist and a husband and father, and just has really, really demonstrated in his own life what an everyday revolutionary is. In fact, they've been so kind to give us some books to give away, and we're going to do that. You can go to faithtalkatlanta.com and find out how you can get yours. It is out, and it is a great book. I find that most people do want to share the gospel in a way, and a little intimidated, maybe, and not sure how to do it. And I just love this because it is a real life a book to show us how we can live a grace life, how we can look for those times of redemption, how we can take care of creation, as you said, and those other ones. You can go to JD Greear. Hang on a second. I got the website, jdgreear.com. If I'd read the ticker, it'd be great, wouldn't it? jdgreear.com. I've only been doing this 40-something years, Pastor. So, that's, don't know what to say. What do you want?
50th year will be the sweet one now.
What do you want people to wait? Did you preach this as a series first, or did you sit down and write it first and it'll become a series later? What for you? What is the best way, or what?
Yeah, good question. I feel like this is a little bit of both because, like I said, I feel like the Lord's been writing this into me since the ministry started 20-some years ago, and so I could look back to a dozen sermon series where these kind of ideas are percolating and trying to tell people, like, listen, faithfulness to Jesus is not less than boldness about cultural issues. It's just more.
Yeah.
It's more. All my life, growing up, grew up in a really conservative Baptist church, and I'm still a pastor of a really conservative Baptist church. But my little Baptist church growing up, I was always warned about the ditch on the left side of the Christian road, and that ditch is called liberalism, and you got to avoid it like the plague. And I believe that, by the way. I believe that ditch is there, and you got to stay out of it. But nobody ever warned me about the ditch on the right side of the road. And you have to remember that Jesus's crucifixion was a joint project between the secular left and the religious right. I'm not trying to say they're morally equivalent. I'm not trying to say they're both right. I'm none of that. I'm just saying that when it came to the message of Jesus, there was a distinction between the so-called secular left and the so-called religious right. And that's because he was filled with grace and truth. And it just means it's not less than truthfulness about cultural issues. It's just more. It's more. It's beyond. You can tell the truth you can speak the truth on every cultural and theological issue and still fail at the mission of Jesus. And this book is trying to explore what is the mission of Jesus and how is it different.
Pastor J.D. Greear, we love the show and we love the books that he puts out. And just to spend time with him, he's just, I told him earlier, and I mean this sincerely, he's just such a great guest, and he always brings it. And he's not aloof. Every now and then I get an aloof person, and it's a little uncomfortable. You are always comfortable, and thank you so much. jdgreear.com. If Daniel were here with you and I and Ezra there, which you can't see, he's producing, would he think of himself as an everyday revolutionary?
I hope so, because the book is kind of modeled on his life. People wouldn't be like, "Yeah, you blew it." There's a fascinating thing about Daniel. I'll point this out, that Daniel's one of the only books, Rick, in the whole Old Testament that's not written like in Hebrew. It's written in Aramaic. The intro and the conclusion are in Hebrew because it's written for Jews, but the narrative portions, the stories about Daniel's life, are all in Aramaic. And it's like the book itself presents a question to Jews where it says, hey, you know how to obey and be faithful to God in Hebrew. Can you do it in Aramaic? And so Aramaic, let that represent the cultural that we find ourselves in.
Wow.
Daniel, more than anybody else in the Old Testament, is the guy who's living out what we're living out in 21st century America. Even with some of the tragic events of the recent, last several weeks, what we're seeing is we're in a place where it's a different mindset that we have to have, and it's more like Daniel's of what does faithfulness look like in this time.
Makes us want to read the book and also go back to Daniel and re-examine it, right? Because it is a great book, and I did not know that. Thank you for sharing that. J.D. Greear with us. The book is called Everyday Revolutionary, and we're giving some away. And so you can go to FaithTalkAtlanta.com. If by chance you don't get a copy, buy one, and you can get them anywhere books are sold. Pastor, so good to be with you. Thank you for who you are, first of all, and for what you do. You're just such a huge blessing. Always have been, and no doubt you'll continue to be. And thanks for being on the show. Again, you can go to FaithTalkAtlanta.com, and JD's website is jdgreear.com. Listen to the show. Watch his television show. You can also go on the website, I'm sure, and stream it. And check out his podcast as well. Ask the Pastor. You know, I should get some questions together and I should send them to you and ask you. Okay. All right. Love it. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Next week, another amazing guest. Have a good week. I'm Rick Probst. This is Faith Talk Today. See you.
Hey, that's it for this episode of Faith Talk Today. But wait, there is more. You can go ahead and click the next video and keep watching videos and share them. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and to the Faith Talk Today podcast. And we'd love to connect with you online. Just follow us at Faith Talk Atlanta. We're on all the socials. Hey, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Faith Talk Today.